I almost answered the call of the most dangerous object in the universe. I felt strange, like someone or something was calling me. It was beckoning me. But for what? I didn't know who or what was calling me over. It gave me another feeling like I was important. Like there was no one else it would call upon but me. I was the only one deserving of the salvation it promised. It didn't even have to beckon me to its place of rest. All it needed to do was summon me. Summon me to where it lay dormant under the gracious individual, unearth it from its rocky bed, bathing it in the glorious light of the sun. That's what it felt like to be summoned by it. A brief, unusual sensation, unlike anything I've ever felt in my life. So unusual, it was like no other person in the entire history of the world had experienced this mixture of being simultaneously whole and fragmented, young and old, angry, happy, numb and pleasured, nothing and everything. But the opposites didn't cancel each other out. They didn't create neutrality like ice and fire create water. They were all there at the same exact time. No sensation or emotion overshadowed the other. I felt like the whole of one sensation and the whole of another. They were not stitched together in pieces. They were not layered over each other. One feeling was not there because of another. Each feeling was there because it was their will. Everything was one, and nothing was one with everything. That's how I felt before being completely summoned. I was summoned, transported to the middle of a vast, oily black ocean with roaring waves like buildings that crashed with the debris of whitewashed grey sea foam. The sky was blanketed by a violent cloud with a funnel directly above me. I did not submerge in the water. I wasn't even floating in the oil water. I was standing as if it was solid ground, moving, shifting, wavy solid ground. Another wave rose towards me. The surface rapidly sloped upwards, but I stood still. I didn't lose my balance. I wasn't even moved by the wave. It was like the world was shifting to my center of gravity. The wave did not curl into itself. It simply moved on behind me like a foot under a blanket. I didn't look behind me to be sure, but I never heard the wave crash, as all of the waves had gone to sleep. I blankly stared ahead towards the tiny, black, oval-shaped, flat stone. At the sight of the stone, I smiled. I loved the stone. It was my everything. It was everything. It was the center of it all. It was such an enormity of utmost importance that it didn't need a name. I would become visible in the vast violet sky. Then the stars would elongate into white beams of light that grew and halted when they became an exact size of the sun. Each beam would then open like an eye, into the proper shape of an eye, unlike the solar eclipse, which was a circle. The eyes of the stars were red. The sky started to deform and shift like a kaleidoscope, the patterned shapes looking like cooled lava. The stone would then appear in the air, graciously gifting us with death. The heads of every onlooker imploded, their blood screamed through their noses, eyes, ears and mouths. The blood would flow upwards, opposite of the gravity, to the deformed violet sky, for the crimson eyes to feed. The slab loved us, and we loved it. I 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 hate it. I hate it. I hate it. So much. I dug my fingers through the rocky bed, blood seeping through my scraped fingers and palms and sticking to the rocks. I finally clawed through the last rock to see the stone in its rocky bed waiting to be unearthed and bathed in the glorious light of the sun. I was just able to lace my fingers around the frame of the stone and grip it, but I stopped myself. My senses returned to me, though I was still untrusting of them, and after this experience, what I saw, what the stone showed me, was nothing but pure evil. That's why I hate it. That's why everyone and everything should hate it. I hate it and it hates us. No one should even touch this object. I reburied it with the wet rocks that made this place its resting place. I didn't risk trying to get rid of it, fearing that simply touching it would bring the apocalypse akin to my vision. The salty water of the sea gently touched the shore, almost reaching my knees in my kneeling position. But it touched my hands. I observed my surroundings. I was on an unknown beach full of smooth, flat stones, much like the stone buried under its kin, and not a soul in sight. The sea in front of me was as calm as blanketed by the sunrise. The sea made me calm. I was calm. I was suddenly overcome by the exact same feeling as when the stone was summoned me. The sensation of everything and nothing washing over me simultaneously, each whole as one. But this time, under all the sensations and emotions, was an underlying thought, a message, letting me know that I was not worthy. It was nothing. But I didn't care. I hated it. I wanted nothing to do with it. The sensation subsided and I was back in my home, where I was before I was summoned in the first place. Knowing there's nothing I can do about it, I simply hope that no other poor soul is summoned by the stone, and if it does, I hope they are all wise enough to reject the call.